In November 2023, the well-known YouTuber Brothers Wild released a video about his scariest solo camping experience in the wilderness. Known for his honest and calming approach to camping in the British countryside, this YouTuber had experienced many nighttime adventures before. But this time, things felt strange from the very beginning. He chose a remote location away from usual trails and human activity, near a river on sloped ground. After finding a suitable spot, he set up his tent and began preparing the campsite. Although the wind was picking up, there were tall trees around providing some shelter, and there was plenty of dry wood available for a fire. By sunset, everything had gone according to plan. He placed some firewood inside the tent to keep it dry and prepared a simple meal for himself. Then, sitting by the fire with a glass of whiskey in hand, he began to enjoy a quiet moment. Despite having walked only about 6 miles, he was quite exhausted as the muddy path had made it a tough journey. Also, since the campsite was relatively close to home, he had brought more gear than usual. While exploring the area for a good camera angle, he came across an unfamiliar mushroom growing on a tree trunk. Although it looked a bit strange, he didn't pay much attention to it and went back to resting. But while eating, he clearly heard movement nearby, like footsteps.
I heard someone saying something right next to me. I hope it caught. I don't know. Anyway, it's starting to rain now as well. Anyway, so I'm gonna eat this quick. In a nutshell, get out, enjoy yourselves. You don't have to spend absolutely thousands of pounds to do it either.
He checked the surroundings but saw nothing. As night fell, the atmosphere at the camp began to shift. The wind grew stronger, shaking the tent. He tried to convince himself that the sounds were just the wind and his imagination. But suddenly, he heard a noise that sounded like someone slipping down the slope, and that really scared him. Even though he had a clear view of the area, the weather conditions made everything seem a bit eerie. He was worried about trees falling, and someone had even messaged him earlier, warning him to be careful. Later, he crawled into his sleeping bag, wearing warm clothes to get through the night. He mentioned seeing lights a bit further down, probably from dog walkers, but he remained out of their sight. Around 10 p.m., a loud noise woke him up. He wasn't sure if it was a gunshot or an explosion, but it was very close and terrifying. A few minutes later, while still trying to calm down and talking to his brother on the phone, something hit his tent hard, and this time he was sure it wasn't the wind. Panicked, he rushed out of the tent and started running through the dark and muddy terrain.
He's in Chicago, obviously, so it would have been nice. Ah! What the hell was that? What? Go away! Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. That was by far the scariest thing that's ever fucking happened to me. Shit. I'm trying to run through mud.
The storm had intensified to the point where seeing and hearing anything clearly was almost impossible. He got stuck in the mud, in conditions resembling a swamp, and heard noises around him. Something or someone was there. The nearby river had also flooded, and to escape, he had to cross the freezing water.
Oh, finally.
After several terrifying and difficult minutes, he reached a safer spot, but he was still certain he had heard something near his tent. Was it an animal, a person, or something else? He didn't know for sure, but the fear in his voice, his gasping breaths, and his desperate attempt to escape made everything clear. This wasn't a joke or a staged scene. This was real fear captured on video. He himself admitted that this was the most terrifying experience he had ever had while solo camping. And considering how many trips he's been on, that says a lot. sTrails, a channel known for its outdoor adventures, released a video on March 9th, 2025, in which Tom, the channel's creator, documented his very first wild camping experience using a bivy bag. Despite being both excited and a little anxious, he and his friend Matt ventured deep into the forest to spend the night under the starry sky with only the essential gear. But what was supposed to be a simple night in nature soon took a strange turn. Tom had wanted to camp in this area for a long time. The conditions were perfect: cool and pleasant weather, a clear sky, and no chance of rain. While setting up camp, Tom was overcome by an unfamiliar and unsettling feeling. He brushed it off as nerves from trying something new and focused on getting the camp ready. He and Matt prepared their sleeping bags and cooked a simple meal over a small fire. The area around them had fallen into an unusual silence, though the faint rustle of leaves and distant sounds of wildlife gave them some comfort. After eating, they sat by the fire and enjoyed the peacefulness of the surroundings. Everything was going smoothly until the atmosphere subtly changed.
Good vibe so far. It's getting dark now. That's not the way we came in. Well, actually, even from here, you can't see Matt. He's right there. Oh yeah, we're absolutely fine. You know, I went about 10 metres away and I turned around and I actually couldn't see you because we were so well camouflaged.
As night went on, Tom increasingly felt as if someone was watching them. The wind had stopped completely, and the typical nighttime forest sounds had vanished. A heavy silence took over. Tom tried to ignore it, convincing himself it was just his imagination. But then the sounds began. At first, soft and distant, blending in with the crackle of the fire. But soon, the sharp cracking of branches echoed around them in a strange rhythm. These weren't normal forest sounds. There seemed to be intention behind them. It felt as if someone was walking just behind the trees. Tom and Matt exchanged anxious glances. They tried to come up with a rational explanation, but what they were hearing didn't seem natural. Every time they thought it had stopped, another branch snapped, closer than before. Tom tried to tell himself it was probably a deer or some other animal, but the behavior didn't fit. Wild animals usually flee at the slightest noise or movement, but these sounds seemed deliberate, as if something was studying them from very close by. Tom stayed awake in his bivy bag, listening intently to every sound. Even the smallest noise around him sent a wave of fear through his body.
It's very cozy. Looking up at the moon, looking up at the stars and chatting. But also, it's Matt, what time do you think it is?
Huh?
What time do you think it is?
8?
Yeah, 5 minutes to 8.
Fucking hell.
It's so early. I'm ready to turn over and go to sleep, but I'm not tired in the slightest. But I am very, very cozy. Matt fell asleep, and so I thought, well, I might as well try and fall asleep. And there's been some activity. There's been some like deers and foxes running around. One got really close and then bolted and it heard me move. Been a lot of stuff going on, but it's not been like scary. It's been quite nice and relaxing.
As he was finally drifting off to sleep, a new sound caught his attention, this time right near their camp. A soft rustling, something moving very close. Tom held his breath to hear more clearly, but before he could react, something touched his bivy bag. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't imagination. The presence of something, or someone, was real. He heard footsteps slowly fading into the darkness. Tom hoped it was an animal, but animals don't move like that, and they don't approach humans so deliberately. Whatever was circling them that night had come silently, made contact, and vanished without a trace. They spent the rest of the night in sleepless worry. By sunrise, everything appeared normal again, as if nothing had ever happened. But the experience left a deep impact on Tom. He had gone into the woods to enjoy his first night of wild camping, but instead, he encountered something unknown. Something that watched, moved with intent, and disappeared without leaving a single clue behind. Tommy and his wife Rachel run the channel Oreo Speedwagon RT. They've always had a deep love for traveling in their van, especially when it involved exploring nature with their dog. But this time, their destination was a place where they had previously had an unsettling experience, a spot where, late at night, they had heard strange and unexplained sounds coming from deep within the forest. Despite that disturbing memory, they decided to return to the area and give it another chance. As night began to fall, they prepared dinner and settled into the warm and cozy atmosphere of their van. It was peaceful, but while eating, Tommy suddenly froze. Something outside the van's side window had caught his eye, as if a shadow had just passed by.
I wasn't looking out the mirror, but, it's in my peripheral. And I could have sworn I saw something walk across there. Well, like a man walked across there. Yeah, I don't. Watch out your window, baby.
Feeling uneasy, he stepped out of the van to take a look around. The darkness of the forest was heavy, and an eerie silence surrounded their camp. He searched the entire area, but found no sign of anyone or anything nearby. Just as he was starting to convince himself it had all been in his head, a sudden terrifying sound shattered the stillness. A loud scream, like that of a child, coming from the same direction where they'd once heard strange noises before. The two stood there, stunned and silent, listening. But after that single scream, an oppressive, haunting silence fell over them. And then the howls began. The same ones they had heard on their previous visit, but this time they were clearer and much closer.
I hear birds and stuff, so I'm not too awfully concerned. Anything would have walked up.
At that moment, Tommy made his decision. He no longer wanted to find out what was behind those sounds. He jumped into the driver's seat, started the van, threw it into gear, and sped away, without even looking back once. Last time, they had ignored the warning. This time, they weren't going to make the same mistake. Preside, an adventurous content creator with a passion for solo experiences in nature, ventured into the forest to spend a peaceful night alone under the stars. It was his first time going completely solo on a camping trip. He started his day by selecting a remote spot among the trees, far from any urban noise or distractions. The surroundings were calm, and the weather was just right. As the sun began to set, he decided to prepare a simple meal: baked beans, which he ate outside the tent before the mosquitoes became too much to handle. Afterward, he went inside the tent, put in his dental retainers, and got his phone ready to watch a few YouTube videos before falling asleep. Within minutes, his camp was fully set up. It was around 8:30 p.m. Although the sky was getting dark, there was still a bit of light left. Feeling hungry, he considered moving to a more open and well-lit spot to eat, but the mosquitoes drove him back into the tent. While eating dinner, he also recorded a time-lapse video.
Because it's not too far from home. But anyways, let's open my baked beans. This scares me. Every time I use a can opener, it goes wrong. So here we go. Alright, I think that's a good thing. I think I just twist it like this. Please don't go wrong. Alright, I think I got it. Yes. Look at that, guys. Alright, I'm gonna go back inside because there's mosquitoes actually, but I'll run the time lapse of me eating this.
Everything remained peaceful until around 2 a.m., when the silence was broken by the sound of footsteps near the tent. The noise was loud enough to wake him up. Grabbing his phone flashlight and lantern, he stepped outside to inspect the area. Near the spot where the noise had come from, he noticed a strange mark on one of the trees. Finding nothing else unusual, he returned to the tent to sleep. But not long after, the footsteps returned. This time even closer, circling around the tent. These movements no longer resembled those of an animal. They felt intentional, almost human. That's when he decided it was time to leave.
Hello?
He grabbed his valuables, turned off the camera, and quickly fled the area. In his rush, he left behind the tent and other gear, only returning the next morning in daylight to collect them. Upon reviewing the recorded footage, he spotted suspicious footprints near his campsite. While they weren't entirely clear, they strongly suggested that someone, or something, had been nearby. Although Preside was used to the typical hardships of camping alone, cold, insects, and strange noises, this experience shook him to his core and left a lasting emotional impact. Rickall's Outdoors is a YouTube channel dedicated to outdoor adventures and wild camping. This channel showcases various journeys deep into forests, mountains, and remote locations far from urban life. However, in one episode, a trip that was supposed to be peaceful and uneventful took a strange turn, forcing the content creator to leave the campsite earlier than planned. On January 13th, 2024, a video was uploaded featuring a solo camping trip in an abandoned forest in the UK. He had been to this location before and returned with excitement for a new experience. His goal was simple: cook a meal, spend the night in nature, and relax in peace. Everything was going well. He set up his tent and lit a small fire for warmth. The air was cold, but with the gear he had brought, the situation seemed completely manageable. He also carried an old tarp to provide extra protection in case of unexpected rain. As the sun set, light filtered through the tree branches and the forest felt peaceful. But soon, this silence was broken by strange noises. A faint sound was heard in the distance. At first, he thought it might be animals or trees swaying in the wind. However, the noises continued, growing louder and more distinct. Something in the heart of the forest was moving with deliberate and heavy steps. The sound seemed to be circling around his campsite.
I was just chilling here by the fire, and right behind me, I heard a lady talk. I couldn't hear what she said, it was muffled. And for a while now, I've been hearing like moaning and stuff. Then I left it. I just heard someone in the bushes near. Don't know what to do, back away. I ain't gonna get much sleep. I was just sitting there, and I heard a muffled lady's voice right behind me.
At that moment, he felt uneasy. He listened carefully, and every few moments he could hear leaves rustling or a twig snapping. But the strangest part was that the usual forest sounds had completely stopped. No owls, no birds, just silence and those unsettling noises. He scanned the surroundings with his flashlight, but saw nothing. Yet, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Fear slowly replaced his sense of peace. In the end, he decided not to wait any longer. Quickly and silently, he packed up his gear and left the area. After returning home, he reviewed the footage but found nothing that could explain what happened that night. Still, that experience remained etched in his memory forever. Josh is an adventurous explorer who loves traveling the world and sharing his experiences with others. He is always trying out different paths and often camps out in nature. This time, he set off into the dense jungles of Sri Lanka to discover a mysterious cave about which many strange stories had been told. Josh had nearly reached the cave's entrance. Only a few steps remained to the highest point of the trail when suddenly, something strange happened. From among the trees, two men emerged, as if they had been waiting for him all along. Without saying a word, they silently began following him. Their behavior seemed unusual. Whenever Josh walked, they walked too. Whenever he stopped, they stopped as well. At first, he tried to brush it off as a coincidence, but it wasn't long before one of the men stepped forward and directly asked him to come with them. Josh firmly but politely refused, yet they had no intention of backing off. At that moment, the atmosphere completely changed. Tension between them rose sharply, and the air grew thick with unease.
And at this point, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed one of the men was moving behind me. And at that moment, my gut instinct kicked in loud and clear. Get out now. I'm just gonna get one more shot, okay? One more shot. Oh, sorry. I'm just shooting, filming, and doing more. And then I'll come, okay? I'll come soon. I just want to shoot this. But you go, I'll stay. And then I come later. I'm just filming everything. Okay? Okay.
Josh sensed that something was seriously wrong and knew he had to act quickly. Without hesitation, he turned on his camera and started recording. From that point on, everything changed. In situations like this, it's crucial to always be prepared. Having something to defend yourself with can be vital because ultimately, what chance does a lone traveler have against two unknown strangers in a remote place without any means of protection? When real danger strikes, there's no room for risks. It's always better to be ready for anything than to find yourself trapped with no way out.